Welcome to the SCIF. This is Chris. Matt will be with us shortly. Um, First thing, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Um, Mainly, I've been focused on watching. Hey, just so you know, first thing announcements. Hey, look, your viewers on Rumble. We have a channel on Rumble. We have a channel on Odysee. Okay, Odysee is not as big as Rumble. Now, for the people on Rumble, you do know that we can see how many views are on there. Okay. So it doesn't matter whether you're looking at it, watching us, or you're just hearing it. It doesn't matter. We can still see what the number is. So by the end of the evening, uh, hit the thumbs up button. Okay. You can see the thumbs up right there. Right now it's at 0 and there's more people viewing. Okay. Take the opportunity. Look, you don't have to like the channel. But if you're looking at it right now and you can see it, and because I know I know how many people were there, so take a point and you hit the thumbs up, okay? Because right now it's a big 0, and there's more watching. All right, and now I can see who leaves and everything. All right, I can't see your name, your face, or anything like that. So it doesn't matter who you are. Hit the thumbs up. All right. Um, we are the Green Beret Life, and we are on the SCIF tonight. There's a lot of stuff going on. Now, first thing, who who on here listening believes that Biden's in charge of anything? Who does? Oh, I can see I can see that we got some people asking questions already. That's great. Um Welcome to SCIF. So, who thinks Biden is in charge of the country? Who thinks this? I know we've all seen all the gaffes and everything like that. I've just come to the point in my life where I really cannot stand even watching it anymore. I watched a little bit of it last night with his press conference, and I, I don't even know what that was. One, uh, the press conference was about an hour late, and so I can only assume that his drugs have not kicked in within that hour, or they were just a little slow. I don't know what, or he's changed his diaper. I don't know, but it's just strange that we send a press conference for an hour. But then again, maybe they're always late. I'm not usually waiting for the press conference because it's a joke. Um, so yeah, he's definitely a puppet. I can see you guys' response now. Yeah, he's definitely a puppet. So who's the puppet master? You know, who is that? Because think about this, when I see these press conferences and I watch these gaffes and then we publicize it across the social media platform, and then somebody takes time to make a little like I don't even know what they call, like a picture or emoji. I don't even know if it's an emoji. It doesn't matter. Of him falling down or whatever. That's cool, but at the end of the day, here's the thing. This guy was going to be in office 4 years, right? And now we have to pay him, taxpayer money has to pay him the rest of his life. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Does this guy's done nothing his whole career. Nothing. Contradicts himself and everything, but now the American people, oh yeah, Dan Cindy patriotic. Obama is his boss, however, still not a leader. Yeah, 100%. 100. I agree with that 100%. And we've Matt comes here. Matt has more information about Obama than I do, but it just baffles me that we can sit here and we can put up with that. I can't watch it anymore. I see a little bit of it, and as soon as he opens his mouth, there's nothing good that comes out of that. And the way he's handling any of this business, he's not really handling it. We don't. He's just a puppet. We can't take anything that he says anymore seriously. We just cannot. We can't. And now on top of all that, we want to we have the Ukraine business, and now we have uh, the Israeli war going on, which brings me to this point. Uh, the Israelis have recently uncovered some of the weapons caches that were in this SCIF hospital they were so concerned about. If you can look at that, I have taken the opportunity to post that on our Telegram channel. Now, which brings me to this point. The Telegram channel, okay? I've been uploading some of the videos that I find interesting from the what they call TBN. It's just a reporter from Israel, and finding more information out every day. And he usually covers the daily events as best as he knows them. So look for that on the Telegram channel. Okay, they're usually either 6 or 7 minutes or less. Kind of sum up the day's events, what the IDF's doing, and how good a job they are doing. Which brings back to the hospital. So if we weren't sure that there was weapons in the hospital, that has been debunked. Okay, the IDF went in there, they cleaned out the hospital, and they found weapons. All right, so that's against all kinds of laws. All right, so if we had any question about Hamas being a terrorist organization, that pretty much answered it. Okay, I mean, we knew they were. We knew they were. The Israelis knew they were. They've known this for years. So, Matt must be having a lot of difficulty now. He must have had to restart his computer or something. So, Troy, I can see Troy Slab. Hey, if you're still on Rumble, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Okay, and that helps us progress through the channel. All right. If you're on Rumble and you're listening or anything like that, and you have an opportunity, hit the thumbs up. It's right under the screen. You can't miss it. Okay. If it's not in the location in that vicinity somewhere, please let us know. Okay. Because Rumble seems to be going pretty good. Odyssee's kind of taking a back seat to Rumble. We really kind of thought Odysee would kick off, really, because they had their screens and everything up pretty good. But here's back to the Biden as a puppet. Who is the puppet master? Right? Who is that? That's what I'm really curious about. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Because when we think about it, right, he's just anything this and over the last year, it's gotten worse. So, not that it wasn't bad before, because it was absolutely horrible. And I don't know if the meds are not working for him or what, but who is the puppet master? Right? It cannot be just one person. All right. It's got AC Stone. I see you just popped up on Rumble. How's it going? Yeah. So, any thoughts on that? Who the puppet master might be? Because I just can't see one single person doing it. Yeah, names names we probably shouldn't say. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If I knew, I'd probably say it anyways, but I just can't imagine, like I said, being one person, because there has to be Troy Slab. Hey, the Puppet Masters a group for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. It has to be, and I just can't see it being. Oh, there's Matt. There's Matt. Matt, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice,
Welcome
nice.
to the SCIF.
Okay. What's this Delta Force selection 200-pound rucksack? You got to do that in selection, SF selection.
Yeah, I seen this. I didn't. I think this is one of those jokesters that wear the three
Okay.
things on the hat. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
little bells and that. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
but
Well, cool.
that
What have you covered so far, Chris?
we're just really talking about Biden's like gaffes, but really that press release kind of last night that was absolute disaster. And I mean, when you think about it, right? I couldn't watch it anymore. I had to turn it off,
You're
right?
talking about the
Because
deal with China?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a complete joke. He's bought and paid for by China. Everything that we do, we do for the benefit of the Chinese. I wonder why, right? And to the detriment of the American people. And it's an absolute disgrace. And when one of these days, I think, I think that day is coming soon because people are getting fed up and fed up and fed up. And hopefully, we're not going to have to deal with this much longer because we've got an election in 2024. We don't know who the Democrats are going to run. I think it's 50-50 whether it's going to be Biden or they bring somebody else in. But I think the American people understand that this country is in dire, dire straits, and we're going to have one chance to fix it. And if we don't, we're in deep trouble.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
give me 1 second here. This light in the background is, I don't know, is that
It's
me or is that a light?
it's right above. Yeah, it's right above your head. Like it's almost blinding. It's like there's a fan there.
Oh, there's the option.
Oh,
Hold on. Let me see if I can get something else going.
yeah,
How's that? Does
yeah.
that
That's
look
much
better?
better. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
much better.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry for me being late, guys. I had a USPSA match tonight and it didn't go well, Chris.
No, what?
Yeah, I had malfunction. It started off okay from the second stage. I had malfunction after malfunction after malfunction. And here's the kicker. Because it's outside and it's under lights in the dark, I couldn't find my round. So I don't know what's going on. Somebody handed me one of my rounds and it had a solid strike on the primer, but I have a suspicion that was the only one that was like that, and the rest of them were short stroking. But I don't know because when you're in the middle of running through these stages, you're going so fast, and when you're clearing the malfunctions, you're not taking the time to see what the hell's going on. So I changed magazines, same problem. So this is from stage 2 to stage 4, malfunction, 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 intermittently, right? And which screws up your rhythm on everything. I mean, it screws everything up. You get a malfunction, you're screwed, right? So I finally decide on the final stage because I'd made my mind up. I got a bad batch of ammo or something, right? And I switch guns, expecting it to piss and fart, and the final stage ran flawless in the new gun. So now I don't know what the hell. So I've got to take this gun and take it to the range and play around with it and see exactly what it's doing. If it's short stroking or if I'm getting, I just can't see it being a light primer strike because that's a solid strike on the primers. So I
And
don't know
this
what
was
it's.
what gun was this you started with? Having the problems
It
with?
was, I was running an open, so I was running my comped gun, but it's the new one with the brand new slide I just did, and but I've run this. I ran it last week, and
It ran all right.
I ran different ammo last week, so it might be it needs to be broken in a little more, right? Because I was running Tula tonight, and I've never had never had an issue with Tula, never. I was running something. I think I was running S&B last week, and a combination of Tula as well. Didn't have any malfunctions, but I think this slide was pretty much brand new, and it needs to mesh with the fire control group still. And I've got the lightest spring in, so because it's a compensated gun. It's an X5 with a compensator on it. So I don't know, Chris. I won't know until I get it to the range and start playing with it. So yeah, I'm going to do some IDPA here soon too. So I'm just probably going to take the fire control group. You can't run the X5. I run a light on mine, right? You cannot run the X5 with the tungsten infused grip unless you don't have a light on the front of it because it's weight. It's a weight issue in IDPA. You got to take either, and then once you take the front light off, you have to either take the internal weight out or you have to take the mag well off. So I'm just going to a regular non-tungsten infused polymer Wilson Combat grip frame with the weights in it and a light on it. And that's what I'm going to run an IDPA. So,
Nice.
And you have to run from concealed, from what I understand, Chris. So when they say concealed, your shirt has to cover everything. So the belt setup that you and I both run, probably not going to work. Going to have to run a holster on a regular belt and mag pouches on and make it so my shirt covers it. And when you draw, because IDPA is International Defensive Pistol Association. I don't know if these guys want to hear about this, but it's interesting to me anyway. So, anyways,
Yeah, I mean that's when we always taught, we just said, hey, the next level is entering some sort of competition,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and
So
prepare to get humbled, man. Prepare. I don't care how good of a shot you think you are. Prepare to get humbled because you have pressure put on you. Things start going wrong, and you're up against some really good shooters. So it's one of those things that Chris is exactly right. Don't be afraid to get beat. Don't be afraid to get beat. Go and compete. The way I look at it, um, Chris and I are Green Berets. So when we show up, people are thinking, oh, this and that, but we get beat. So we get beat too. Everybody is going to get beat. So I don't care who you are. If you're afraid and you don't compete because you don't want to get beat, what is that, Chris?
chicken,
Yeah,
chicken.
yeah. I mean, that's weak. That's weak
Yeah,
sauce at the very
yeah.
minimum, right? So, anyways,
Here's your first comment, right? It says like Choice Slab says, I can't picture Matt with tactical fishing vest at IDPA.
the tactical fishing vest. I had to show up with that actually. I do
Yeah.
have a tactical fishing vest. I'd rock it. Chris and I have those Tacticilts from 511.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Remember those? We bought
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell it is, but we bought those Tacticilts.
Tacticals.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I see. I see no courage if you don't even try. That's right, Blueben. No courage if you don't even try. Don't ever let fear stop you from trying to compete. Okay. And then once you start competing and you get beat a few times, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But you can't get good at this unless you go out and get beat and then force yourself to come up with a plan and get better. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and here's another thing. Pretty much if you guys have been listening for a while, you guys know that I have a few traumatic brain injuries, right? When I say a few, at least 3, okay? And 2 that are pretty serious. But these things screw you up. It screws your eyesight up. It screws everything up. Shooting sort of forces. It's kind of like PT for your brain and your eyes and your coordination and all of that, your proprioception, where you are in time and space, right? So kind of had calibrate my whole system and learn how to not necessarily learn how to shoot again, but get my brain and my eyes and my balance and all of that sorted out. And it's therapy. Wouldn't you agree, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
People that have strokes and stuff like that, I mean, get them out there, minor strokes, of course, get them out there and get them shooting any type of brain, because guess what? You have to concentrate on 5 fundamentals. Those 5 fundamentals, when you're concentrating and putting those together and working those together in seamlessly, do you have time to worry about anything else? No. So it forces you to be in the present, and it forces you to try to get everything working together. See, Bluebin, what are the shooting qualifications in the Green Berets? It changes. So it changes. So there isn't a specific, right now, I couldn't tell you what the specific qualification is. If you suck, you don't want to suck, believe me, because you're going to be the brunt of the jokes on the team. And when I say suck, if you're the low man on the team, okay, in shooting, you're not going to hear the end of it, and it may go company wide, right, Chris?
Yeah.
And then you might need remedial help, right?
Yeah.
So, but you got to know how to shoot pistol, rifle, shotgun. You got to focus on the same thing, fundamentals. You've got to focus. We always focus on safety, but you also have to remember you're often using, live ammo in shoot houses. This is when you're not deployed, right? And you're training. So you have to understand that if you screw something up, or if you have an AD, your future might be in trouble, okay? But understand, if you're doing a live fire shoot house and you screw something up, you could shoot and kill your buddy, right? This is nothing to play around with. It's 100% concentration. There's a peer process, I'm going to say, throughout the whole military that has to do with everything, not just shooting. But it's, I would say, a little bit elevated when you get into special operations, that you need to become good at your job. And part of being good at your job is being good as with a gun, right? Because that's the ultimate finish to every mission, right? Getting there and being able to respond if you need to respond with a firearm. So it doesn't matter what that firearm might be. It might be your issued pistol, rifle, shotgun. It might be it's something that you picked up on the battlefield that you have to understand how to use, or any of the crew served weapons that you're going to have to go and use. You do have to qualify for all of those as well. Learn how to do headspace and timing. Understand how firearms work. That's another big thing. Chris, remember you stated some of these guys that are new need a little more understanding on some of the basic fundamentals on tuning your rifle, tuning your pistol, getting things to work exactly the way they're supposed to work. A, because of reliability. B, because of shootability. And C, because you don't want to beat the shit out of your equipment. And you might say, well, how's that going to beat the shit out of your equipment? Well, if you have a gun that's way overgassed, right? You're beating the shit out of the internals of that gun. Okay. Not only are you making that gun a little bit harder to shoot because it's moving around more, right? But you're beating the shit out of the internals of that gun. So having the basic knowledge of getting your pistol, your rifle, your shotgun tuned so that it's reliable and it's shooting the way it's supposed to be and is easier to shoot and stay on target, right? Recovers faster, is a must. I think it doesn't matter if you're the Bravo on the team or if you're the Echo or the Charlie or the Delta. You gotta know your maintenance and how to get your equipment to perform the best it possibly can. See this question here. I was 117th Infantry, Fort Wainwright. I know the basics, but I'm sure you guys are trained at a much higher level than I ever was. To be honest with you, Bluevin, it's a lot of stuff that you pick up on your own, okay, by doing research and looking into it and figuring out, and trial and error, right? There's some shortcomings, I think, with all the special operations. You have we had a guy that was in the company that was basically the armor, right? And then you've got the two Bravos on your team that are, for all intents and purposes, armorers. But it's very easy to hand the gun off and say, "Fix my gun." That's a bunch of nonsense. You need to know how to fix your gun and get your gun working for you. So, I would never want to be handing my stuff off to somebody else to tune for me. Even when you're sighting your stuff in, your gun has to be sighted for you. Are you going to be close if somebody else sighted your rifle in? Might be, right? But you got to sight that gun in for you. I'll show you where things can go off. Chris is right-handed, but he's left eye dominant. So Chris shoots a pistol right-handed, and a rifle he shoots left-handed, right? Because now you're making 3 points of contact. So if Chris zeroes a rifle in as a left eye dominant individual who's shooting left-handed, right? And I pick up that rifle, is it going to be close? Yeah. Is it going to be dialed in for me if I'm right eye dominant and I shoot a rifle right-handed? Probably not, right? So little things like that. And the way the human brain and your eyes all interact with the weapon, how your eye picks up the dot or the reticle, these little things. And this is why you just have to be able to, to work on your own equipment. So to answer your question, Bluebin, you've got the basics. You've got the basics in your toolbox. Do a little research. If you have any specific questions, reach out to us. We'll gladly. I love talking about gun stuff. I don't think we were even planning on it. We just started talking about it tonight because I have a malfunction. I had a malfunction in one of my firearms, and now I got to figure out what's going on. And the first key to that is finding out what's it doing. And I don't know what it's doing because it was malfunctioning intermittently in the middle of running a course where I have to clear the malfunction quickly and keep moving on, right? So I can't say, is it short stroking? Is it missing? Is it light primer strikes? Is it something else? I don't know until I take it to a range and start looking at it and seeing what it's doing first. What were you going to say, Chris?
This may help Bluebin a little bit. So the real difference between uh, the guy that shot the the guy that shot 100 or 1,000 rounds and the guy that shot 10,000 rounds. Okay, there's no difference in the fundamentals there. Okay, what it is, shooting is master of the basic principles of shooting. That's all it is. Okay, there's no advance to it.
No.
So you
No, that's the whole trick. And I'm glad you just brought that up, Chris. I'm
yeah.
not trying to interrupt you, but you are so spot on with that.
So you may have shot when you were in this 117th, you may have shot once a year or twice a year in comparison to where Matt and I were shooting
All the time. We were
all the
shooting.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no difference in that. That's the only difference is the amount of rounds you shoot because it gives you more time to adjust the human input to the gun. Okay. That's all it is. And it gives you more time to stabilize everything. And you know that the next shot is going to be different because you're going to adjust a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
And eventually you master that or you get to a master's level with that weapon. And it's all basic input. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. And what Chris was saying, the basics here, there's all these guys out there trying to teach advanced this, advanced that. Most of it's bullshit. There's 5 fundamentals. Okay. So there's grip, there's stance, there's sight alignment, there's breathing, and there's trigger squeeze. Those are the 5 fundamentals, okay? And it affects whether you're shooting pistol, affects whether you're shooting a shotgun, it affects, it's the same fundamentals with a rifle, right? Now there's different tactics and how you clear rooms and how you respond to contact and how you do these things, but a lot of those are team SOPs. And what I'll say on that too is usually the simpler SOP is usually more effective. When you start trying to make corners out of straight lines and get real complicated and high speed on a bunch of stuff, not everybody might be up to speed. You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? Or you're opening more room for error. Okay. And I truly believe that the simpler you can make something and keep it simple, the more effective and successful you're going to be. And quite frankly, a lot of these advanced type schools or people claiming that they have some next level mentorship, um, I think a lot of it's a bunch of nonsense, to be honest with you. I think hitting the fundamentals, putting yourself under stress, and forcing yourself to still work through those fundamentals, right? Understanding why you're missing and where you're missing, and making the corrections for that. That's what's super important. And if you can do that, anybody can get out there if they have those basics down. Uh, Now, sometimes it's good to have somebody who knows what they're doing watching you to point something out, because as you're under stress and rolling through something, you may not realize what you're doing, or somebody that really studies this and teaches this is able to figure it out and see exactly what you're doing. Here's something else. There's not one way to skin a cat, right? There's many different ways of doing things. Everybody's physical makeup is different. The way your brain interacts with that reticle, like I was talking before, the way you put that gun up to your body, the way you move, the way you are, physiologically, everybody's slightly different. So you may need to do things that work for you and keep you comfortable, and all of that enable you to perform. If you are safe and you use sound technique and you perform, there's different variations on what you can do. And there's not one way. So if somebody says you must do it this way, and that's nonsense, right? And Chris and I come across this in teaching class too. Uh, it's preferable to keep both eyes open if you're shooting up close, like CQB distance, whether you're shooting rifle, shotgun, or pistol. Pistol, primarily, you want to try to keep both eyes open. Now, as you start to use reticles with power, optics with power in it, now there might be some reason for you to close an eye, okay, when you start getting out to some distance like that. But some people, we're talking up front with the pistol, some people, their brains have an issue allowing them to keep both eyes open, and some people can't wink, believe it or not, right? So you can work around these things, right? You can still be a phenomenal shooter and shut one eye, right? If that's, we can encourage you to try to, but some people simply can't. Their body, their brain doesn't let them. So why get stuck on that if you're able to do what you need to get done? Some people don't have the same stance. A lot of people have a different stance, because you got to be comfortable. You want to be comfortable when you shoot. So if I go out and do a stance and say, you must copy my stance, well, that stance might not work for you, right? Exactly. So if you're following sound fundamentals, we're cool with that, right, Chris? Chris, you're on mute.
There might be some physical differences there too,
Mm-hmm,
in stature or form or whatever. But
mm-hmm,
at the end of the day, if you're here's at the end of the day, it's the input to the gun. So you find a way to adjust your stature and input to the gun to get the bullets on target.
mm-hmm,
Okay. And what you had mentioned is absolutely correct. Um, you got to find that sweet spot. Okay. Not everybody has the same sweet spot. There's a starting point that we like to start with, for all of that, for each one of those fundamentals. But if each one of them fundamentals needs an adjustment somehow, then we have to make adjustments. Somebody could have for example, somebody could have like a broken leg or broken arm, and it may not be exactly, there might be a little adjustment, or
mm-hmm.
one eye might be better than the other, or something, some kind of abnormality that needs to be adjusted to get the bullets on target. And that's okay. But that's what you have to do. That's the human input side to the gun.
And sometimes you have to be willing to go outside of your comfort zone too and push yourself. So when Chris and I are teaching class and we're teaching people to shoot from cover, we make people physically switch shoulders if they're with a rifle or shotgun, or switch hands with a pistol, and expose yourself the least in order to get rounds back down range. So that means shooting left-handed or right-handed, opposite of what you're what you're normally used to doing. So we do force you to do that, but if you take your time and go through it, it's the same fundamentals. Now at that stage, sometimes I say if you're going to be shooting a pistol from your left hand or even a rifle, then I'll tell people, hey, close your dominant eye. Okay, at that stage, close that dominant eye just so you can start to understand you're not trying to screw everything up, right? Uh, Pistol, fortunately, is something that allows you to sort of switch both eyes. So I can tell if somebody's cross-eye dominant by watching them shoot, because if they're left eye dominant and right-handed, they'll turn their head funny to line their eye up with the gun. Okay, so that's a quick cue. Okay, with a rifle, you can't do that because you've got the 3 points of contact. And that's sort of where that's at. So do you think there's a difference in how I was trained clearing rooms compared? Yeah, there's different SOPs, okay? But the basics, I mean, infantry dudes cleared a lot of freaking rooms overseas. So I would imagine that your specific SOPs were pretty damn good. Like we were saying, repetition. So if you guys came up with an SOP that worked when you were overseas or when you were in training and all of that, and it worked, you guys are probably going to be pretty sufficient. Now, in special operations, we have to go through a course every year, right? SCIF, Chris,
Yeah, it's
right?
supposed to be every year. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're giving you the latest techniques and this and that. But basically, there's some new cool guy shit, and there's some stuff you can pick up from that for sure. But the basics of clearing a room, if you see, this is another thing because the basics are gonna pretty much tell you where you need to look and what you need to cover in all of this, right? How you need to protect yourself coming in. These, no matter if you're at super advanced, right, or basic, it's the same. It's the same things that you're all looking for and trying to accomplish. Okay, so whatever SOP that your team works with, that you're clearing rooms with, right? uh, it's probably right up there, provided how often you do it and how good you guys are getting at it. Because if you have a good solid SOP and you guys are shit hot on that, you're covering everything you need to cover. You know exactly how to respond to things that are thrown, like a hallway and another set of rooms, and how you deal with stuff like that. If you can do that and you got a good SOP, you're going to be as good as anybody in the world that does it, provided you do it all the time, right? So I wouldn't say there's new techniques that guys use, but when it gets down to it, it's how much you're doing of it. And in special operations, you're going to be doing a lot of it, right? And then when you get to like these units that only do direct action, like CAG or SEAL Team 6 or those guys, that's all they do. That's all they're doing. So those guys tend to be the best at that, because we being in SF or being in SEALs or MARSOC, you have multiple missions. So you've got to be a master of a bunch of things, or should I say, an expert. These guys really get to focus in on direct action. That's all they do: direct action, direct action, direct action, direct action. Hence, they become probably the best of the world at it. I would say, Delta Force or SEAL Team 6, because that's all they do, right? And
Yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah. Um, hey, I'm gonna switch gears real quick with a question, right?
Okay.
Bloom, we can always come back to you if you have any more questions, but the question is, did anybody see any US flags on the streets of, I don't know if they were where they were at when isn't that his Zhang or whatever, Z or Zhang
Oh,
came
yes, they
through?
were in San Francisco. Xi Jinping. It's funny that you bring that up. All of the Chinese flags. This whole thing is disgusting. The whole
Yep.
thing. They cleaned up the city for Xi, right? This is our biggest enemy in the world, folks. China. She's not our friend, right? The Biden family has been making money from China for years and years and years and years. What you can only imagine what they have on that family. Hunter using Chinese prostitutes, all sorts of stuff. They've got everything on them, right? It came out a few years ago. Well, we got to be careful because we're on YouTube right now. We're going to have to switch over to talk about some of this stuff. or YouTube's going to strike us, right? Because YouTube basically, how would you describe YouTube, Chris, to anybody out there that's watching?
It's terrible.
It sucks. Google
It's
sucks.
horrible.
We have been struck on this channel so many times, and it seems once we get a strike, because if you get 3 strikes within, what is it, 90 days, they completely destroy your channel. It's gone, never to return, right? So it seems like when we get a strike on YouTube, they hit us twice. Boom, boom. They'll go and pull something out of an archived video. So what we often do, and Bluebin, I see you're on YouTube. I'm going to strongly encourage you to come over to Rumble. We're at the Green Beret Life at Rumble. We're also on Odysee, the Green Beret Life. It seems Rumble is running the best, right? And Rumble is the way of the future. So what we normally do is we switch off of YouTube and go over to Rumble and Odysee, where we can start spinning. And Chris just put up, the link. So Bluebin or anybody else watching us on YouTube, we're going to switch over to Rumble here in a second. Please, 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 thank you for joining us at YouTube, but please come and join us over at Rumble, okay? Perfect, Bluebin. And then Chris just put up Odysee too, if you prefer to, maybe even join both. Please come and join us at Rumble or Odysee, and we can speak without fear of getting strikes, and we can speak freely. So when we're getting into a territory here where Chris and I are going to get ourselves in trouble if we stay on YouTube. So we like to tell YouTube they suck every time we get off it, because it's Google, and they're here to infringe upon your First Amendment rights. So we're going to switch over right now. I think it's a good time, Chris. And
Yeah.
Bluebin, whoever else is watching us on YouTube, please come over